The overuse of anti-Semitism and political correctness as tools of censure. In contemporary society, terms like anti-Semitism and political correctness are wielded with increasing frequency, often not as genuine descriptors of prejudice or decency, but as tools to suppress dissent and control narratives. While both concepts emerged with noble intentions, to combat hate and promote inclusivity, their overuse and misapplication have diluted their original value. This phenomenon has particularly affected perceptions of anti-Semitism, with the general population increasingly skeptical of such accusations, seeing them as a vehicle for Zionist propaganda rather than genuine concerns about prejudice. This essay explores the similarities between the overuse of anti-Semitism and political correctness as mechanisms of censure, examining how both have evolved into instruments that stifle debate and erode trust. The origins of anti-Semitism and political correctness. Anti-Semitism refers to hostility, prejudice, or discrimination against Jewish people. Historically, this term served a critical role in identifying and combating systemic oppression, from pogroms in Eastern Europe to the Holocaust. Its invocation carried weight, rallying individuals and institutions to stand against hatred. Political correctness, on the other hand, emerged as a framework to encourage inclusive language and behavior, seeking to address systemic inequities related to race, gender, religion, and more. It aimed to foster respect and reduce societal harm caused by discriminatory speech or actions. Both concepts, at their core, were designed to create a more just and equitable society, rooted in the values of mutual respect and human dignity. The weaponization of labels. Over time, however, both anti-Semitism and political correctness have been co-opted as tools to shut down discussion and enforce conformity. In the case of anti-Semitism, accusations have increasingly been deployed to silence criticism of the state of Israel or its policies. Legitimate debates about geopolitical issues, human rights, or colonial dynamics in the Middle East are often met with accusations of anti-Semitism, even when no racial or religious animus is present. This conflation alienates individuals who wish to engage in meaningful dialogue, as they feel that their arguments are dismissed without consideration. The situation becomes even more problematic when one considers that all Arabs in the region are Semites, just as Jewish people are. The term Semite refers to a linguistic and ethnic group that includes both Arabs and Jews, among others. Therefore, it is fundamentally illogical to accuse an Arab of being an anti-Semite. Arabs who criticize Israel or Zionism are often labeled as anti-Semitic, yet their critique is directed at political ideologies or state policies, not at Jews as an ethnic or religious group. This misuse of the term not only distorts its meaning but also perpetuates a false dichotomy between Arabs and Jews, ignoring their shared Semitic heritage. Such accusations could be more accurately framed as opposition to Israel or Zionism, rather than as anti-Semitism. By equating criticism of Israeli policies with hatred of Jews, proponents of this narrative obscure the legitimate grievances of Palestinians and other Arab communities in the region. This misrepresentation further alienates those who seek justice for the Palestinian cause and undermines the credibility of accusations of anti-Semitism when genuine instances arise. Similarly, political correctness has been weaponized to police speech and behavior to such an extent that it stifles genuine debate. Dissenting views, even when expressed respectfully, are often labeled as offensive or inappropriate. This creates a chilling effect, where individuals self-censor for fear of social or professional repercussions. While originally intended to address systemic inequalities, political correctness is now frequently invoked to enforce ideological conformity, often at the expense of free thought and critical inquiry. The consequences of overuse. Dilution of meaning. The overuse of anti-Semitism and political correctness has diluted their significance. When accusations of anti-Semitism are leveled indiscriminately, they lose their power to identify genuine acts of prejudice. This is particularly evident in the growing perception that such accusations are merely tools of Zionist propaganda. Many people, particularly those critical of Israeli policies, view these charges with skepticism, believing them to be attempts to delegitimize valid criticism rather than protect Jewish communities from harm. The misuse of the term anti-Semite to describe Arabs is an example of this dilution. By conflating opposition to Zionism or Israeli policies with anti-Semitism, the the term loses its capacity to highlight real instances of anti-Jewish prejudice. This confusion undermines solidarity against genuine hate and alienates people who might otherwise stand against all forms of discrimination. Erosion of trust. The indiscriminate use of these terms erodes trust in the institutions and individuals who wield them. When anti-Semitism is used to shut down discussions about Israel, or when political correctness is invoked to silence controversial but necessary debates, people begin to question the motives behind these accusations. This skepticism can lead to a backlash, with individuals dismissing genuine concerns about prejudice or discrimination as mere propaganda or ideological policing. Polarization and division. The weaponization of anti-Semitism and political correctness contributes to polarization as it forces individuals into binary positions. Critics of Israel may feel compelled to reject any accusations of anti-Semitism, even when such accusations are valid, while opponents of political correctness may dismiss all efforts at inclusivity as unnecessary or oppressive. This polarization undermines the possibility of nuanced discussion and collaborative problem-solving. Restoring credibility and purpose. To reclaim their original value, both anti-Semitism and political correctness must be used judiciously and authentically. Accusations of anti-Semitism should be reserved for genuine acts of prejudice, not wielded as a shield against political criticism. Efforts to promote political correctness should focus on fostering meaningful inclusivity, rather than enforcing ideological conformity. Moreover, there must be greater public understanding of terms like anti-Semitism. Recognizing that Arabs and Jews share a Semitic heritage is essential to addressing the misuse of the term. This distinction allows for clearer discourse and avoids alienating legitimate critics of Israel or Zionism. Conclusion. The overuse of anti-Semitism and political correctness as tools of censure has undermined their original purposes, transforming them into instruments of suppression rather than empowerment. This shift has diluted their meaning, eroded trust, and contributed to societal polarization. By recognizing the shared Semitic heritage of Arabs and Jews and reframing discussions to focus on genuine instances of prejudice, society can restore the credibility of these concepts. A recommitment to thoughtful and authentic usage ensures they serve their original purpose, fostering justice, inclusivity, and understanding.